What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 254, and I am so excited for this card as a whole and for the main event especially. I mean, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje, someone who is 28-0, never lost in Nurmagomedov, going against someone who has been on an absolute run, and Justin Gaethje 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Someone who just put on a dominant performance against Tony Ferguson. A lot of people were not expecting that, including me, but he went out there and he really put it on Ferguson. And I don't know, I'm really excited for this matchup. It's really a fantastic matchup. Lots of question marks, and we'll talk about it, all that, and we'll break it down. As for all the other fights on the card, we have a great co-main event, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker, and lots of great fights scattered out throughout the card. So really looking forward to the card as a whole, really looking forward to making some money. I do have some things I want to talk about before we get into the predictions. As always, like I like to do on these pay-per-views, do some giveaways, give out some free money. So I'm going to do my 2 contests as always. The first one, make sure you like this video. Next, subscribe if you haven't yet. And third, comment how many significant strikes you think Khabib and Justin Gaethje are going to combine for in the main event. I know 2 main events ago, somebody was like 1 away. Last main event, somebody was like 5 or 6 away. This one's a little bit trickier because you never know. It could end early or it could end late. It could even go to decision. So it's going to be trickier there, but winner gets $25. So whoever gets closest, if there's a tie, whoever commented first is going to get that tiebreaker there. And then, of course, my DraftKings contest. What you got to do is first like the video, next subscribe if you are not subscribed already, and then third, comment down your DraftKings username. I'll get you in there. Last time we had like 150 people in there. I think I'm going to do the same thing there, limit it to around 150 people as well. So yeah, lots of giveaways, lots of fun. This card is very, very good, especially in the main event. The main event is going to be fantastic. Can't wait to talk about it, but we are going to start first with the first fight of the night, and that is Alvarez versus Ankalaev here. And Joe Alvarez is someone who looked very, very impressive in that Joe Duffy fight, and he's only 27 years old, so he is still improving, and we definitely saw those improvements he made in his last fight against Duffy as well, especially on the feet. He looked actually, pretty decent. And Alvarez, he is 27 years old, 6'3", 77-inch reach. He is 17-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Alexander Ankalaev, he is 36 years old, 6'3", 74-inch reach, so Alvarez is going to have about a 3-inch reach advantage. He is 25, 10, and 1, and 2 and 3 in his last 5 fights. So I do want to get into some stats for this matchup. Alvarez lands about 3.03 significant strikes per minute with a 36% striking accuracy. He absorbs 3.67 significant strikes per minute with the 53% striking defense. So he is absorbing more than he's throwing out. And same thing for Ankalaev here. He only lands 1.79 significant strikes per minute with a 47% striking accuracy. And he does absorb 2.44 significant strikes per minute with the 58% striking defense. As for the wrestling grappling goes, no takedowns from Alvarez, which is kind of interesting because a couple of his fights have ended on the mat. I think he got a submission against Joe Duffy. He also got a ground and pound victory a couple fights ago as well. And Ankalaev, he does average 1.56 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 33% takedown accuracy. And I don't suggest that he takes down Alvarez here, and we'll talk about it, but Alvarez does have a really, really good submission game. Alvarez has finished 88% of his wins by submission, and he's finished 12% of his wins by knockout. So Alvarez actually has a 100% finish rate. Ankalaev, he's finished 36% of his wins by knockout and 36% of his wins by submission with a 72% finish rate there. So Alvarez has been knocked out once. He's lost by decision. And Ankalaev's been submitted 4 times, which is very interesting in this fight, and he's been knocked out once. I was looking to go in for a reason to come in here and say I'm going to fade Alvarez here and go with the underdog, but watching tape on Ankalaev, I just can't do it, especially with Alvarez looking very, very solid in his last fight. We'll take a look at the line here. Alvarez is minus 155, and it's very interesting because he did open up minus 285. So a huge line jump, a lot of love for Ankalaev, and I can understand why in a way, because I do think the line could be a little bit closer than when it opened, but still I got to favor Alvarez here. I think he's the younger fighter making more improvements. We saw growth in his striking especially, and if this does hit the mat, which I think it probably will, Alvarez is going to have a nice advantage on there. Very good submission game, decent off his back. I'm going to take Alvarez to win here. Give me a submission. Like I said, Ankalaev's been submitted like 4 times. I think he's going to probably get submitted here again. I can honestly see Alvarez winning a decision as well, but give me Alvarez by first round submission there. Getting into the next fight, and we have a very good fight here. This fight is, something I'm really looking forward to because I'm very high on Gaethje Kenney. I was all over him his last fight against Haile Alateng, and I like Wood as well. I'm high on both these guys. In Gaethje Kenney, he is 29 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. He is 15-2-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Nathaniel Wood, he is 27 years old, 5'6", 69-inch reach, 17-4 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. I mean, this fight is pretty tough to call, and you wouldn't think that with the line of Gaethje Kenney minus 200 and Nathaniel Wood is plus 170. So Gaethje Kenney actually opened up minus 225. That line is closed just a little bit there. And honestly, I agree with the line movement. I think it should even be a little bit closer than that. I can kind of see this fight being, closer towards a pick'em, a slight lean on the Gaethje Kenney side, and I'll tell you why. Because on the feet, Wood is going to throw a ton of volume. He lands 5.52 significant strikes per minute compared to Gaethje Kenney's 4.25. And I know Gaethje Kenney showed massive improvements in his striking in the Haile Alateng fight. But this is not Haile Alateng. This is Nathaniel Wood, a much better striker with the volume. I know Alateng has that power, but he's not much of a volume striker. So I don't expect Gaethje Kenney to go out there and put on a performance like he did in the Alateng fight, especially coming in, just a couple weeks after that Alateng fight where he didn't really get much damage on him per se, but he dished out a ton of damage, tons of leg kicks, tons of body kicks. But I'm curious to see how he comes looking in for this fight as well, especially at a catch weight. So that's also something to note. They are going to be at a catch weight of 140. So I do want to kind of see the weigh-ins, but I'm going to lean Kenney here, and I'm going to pick Kenney. And due to the fact that he does have that wrestling in the back pocket, very good wrestler. We have seen Wood taken down before. And on the mat, Wood can definitely hold his own. But still, Gaethje Kenney is very, very legit on the mat. He's able to, hang with guys like Ray Borg, Bermudez. We talked about it, the last breakdown. He is very, very good on the mat. And I do think it touches the mat at some point. And at that point, I do got to favor Gaethje Kenney in that aspect. Maybe Wood even tries to go for a takedown here. But if he tries that, Kenney can definitely scramble up, even hit some reversals, end up on top. So just due to the fact, with the ground game advantage of Kenney, I got to favor him. I got to pick him here to win by decision. What's interesting is Nathaniel Wood has never lost by decision. He's been knocked out twice. He's been submitted twice as well. Maybe even a Kenney submission wouldn't be nothing too crazy there. Kenney has a very good submission game. He has finished 33% of his wins by submission. And if this does hit the mat, Kenney is live for a submission. But I'm going to go with a decision here. I think it's going to be very close. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with the line of Gaethje Kenney minus 200. I'd honestly line it a lot closer than that, but I'm going to pick Gaethje Kenney. I see some people taking shots on Wood at those odds. I don't blame you. I think this fight's going to play out close, but the pick is Gaethje Kenney by decision. I'm really excited for this fight, actually. I mean, Miranda Maverick versus Luana Jojua. Maverick is 23 years old, 5'3" with a 65-inch reach. She is 7-2 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Luana Jojua, she is 25 years old, 5'4", 62-inch reach, 8-3 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. And it was interesting. In Jojua's last fight against Belbita, I think I was the only person in the world picking Jojua in that matchup. And it was funny, a lot of people were betting Belbita confidently, and I saw people like Max betting Belbita. Maybe because it was a fade on Jojua, because she does look really bad on tape. But the reason I picked Jojua was because for one reason only, and that is that arm bar from guard, and she does pull those off. She does have some really good submissions, and Belbita is someone who was submitted 2 or 3 times before that fight. So that's kind of why I did pick Jojua in that fight. Now, Miranda Maverick, I mean, she's a much better grappler than Belbita, and honestly, it's not even close. Watching tape for Maverick, I went in looking for some striking possibly, because I was thinking maybe she can keep this on the feet for most part of the fight, but what she does is she gets this to the mat quite a bit. She's a very good wrestler, very strong. What I did notice, though, about Maverick is her takedown defense is not that great. But when she is on bottom, she has a very, very active guard, very dangerous guard. She's able to sweep her opponents. She's able to throw up submissions from her back as well. So if Jojua does get her down, I don't think it's a big problem here. And I honestly think Maverick's going to go out there and get takedowns herself. If this does play out on the feet for long periods of time, I'm still going to favor Maverick. Jojua looks like she has some power, I guess. She only has 1 knockout on her record, but Maverick's definitely the more technical striker. She probably hits harder as well. She's going to throw a ton more volume, and I don't expect it playing out on the feet, though. I do think Maverick's going to get it to the mat, probably get a finish here. Just watching tape on Jojua and getting finished by Sarah Moras, getting dominated by Sarah Moras, it's not a good look. And I can understand why people did want to fade her against Belbita. That's not going to happen again. I mean, I know it's women's MMA. I know the armbar from guard. I'd be extremely surprised if Miranda Maverick got armbarred from guard in this matchup here. So give me Maverick here. I'm going to pick her to win by, give me a third round submission. I think she's going to dominate Jejo from start to finish until the fight's over. And I think she's going to get it done inside the distance here. Looking at the line here, Maverick is now minus 420. And Jejo is plus 335. I'm not going to say that line's wide because, I think she's going to get it done. She did open up at minus 350, and she's now minus 420. And Maverick's somebody I've been looking at for the past couple weeks. I actually did tape this fight a while ago, and I have been eyeing Maverick here. And I do think she gets it done, probably inside the distance. I think Jejo, has made some improvements, but, man, she's not a great fighter. I do think Miranda Maverick's the much better fighter here. All right, getting into the next fight, and we have a fun one here, I guess. I mean, Da Un Jung versus Sam Alvey. Jung, he is 26 years old, 6'4", 78.5-inch reach, 13-2, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Sam Alvey, he is 34 years old, 6'2", 76-inch reach, 33-14, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. I know there was an interview with Sam Alvey, and he was actually surprised that the UFC gave him another chance. I mean, losing 4-0 is not a great look, but if he loses 5 in a row here, this could be the end of Sam Alvey here. And just taking a look at the odds, Da Un Jung is minus 345 and Sam Alvey is plus 285. Da Un Jung opened up actually at minus 425. So there is some money coming in on Sam Alvey. Honestly, I don't really understand that. But, Da Un Jung is someone who, hasn't been overly impressive. I mean, he knocked out Mike Rodriguez. He was able to survive the early storm from Khadis Ibragimov. I remember Ibragimov landed a 40-punch combo on him. He was able to survive that. He showed a really good chin. He showed really good cardio, was able to get a third-round submission on Khadis. And I know Khadis is awful, and other than that, Da Un Jung hasn't really faced great competition. You can look at his record. He's faced very questionable competition, but he was able to get that knockout on Mike Rodriguez, but still kind of iffy about it, As for Sam Alvey, 34 years old, I was honestly kind of surprised when I found out he was 34. I thought he was a little bit older than that, especially because of how slow he looks in there, how low volume he is. He lands 3.11 significant strikes per minute. Da Un Jung lands 6.59 significant strikes per minute, so almost over double of Sam Alvey, and he does throw a lot of output. He's going to throw a lot more than Sam Alvey, and I'm really struggling to find a path to victory for Sam Alvey in this fight. Is it going to be a knockout? I don't know. I mean, Da Un Jung has shown a very good chin throughout his career. Da Un Jung has never been knocked out. He's been submitted. He's lost by decision. He's never been knocked out. Sam Alvey has been knocked out 3 times. He's lost by decision 11 times. And, I mean, he's tough, but this just seems like a really bad matchup. And it seems like a lot of people going against Sam Alvey is a really bad matchup for him at this point. Just so low volume. I can't see a path to victory for him. So I'm pretty confident in that Da Un Jung is going to get it done. I just don't know if he's going to get it done by decision or finish. I'm going to lean towards the finish side. He's finished 77% of his wins by knockout, 15% by submission. He does have some power. He does have some volume. So give me Da Un Jung. I'm going to predict give me a first round knockout here for Da Un Jung. I do think that this should be his fight to lose here. I mean, as long as he does not get caught, I think he wins this fight. Other than that, I don't see a path to victory from Sam Alvey there. All right, I'm really excited for this fight here. Alex Oliveira versus Shavkat Rakmanov here. And Alex Oliveira, he is 32 years old, 5'11", with a 76.5-inch reach, 22-8-1 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Shavkat Rakmanov is 25 years old, 6'1", 12-0 and 5-0, obviously, in his last 5 fights. And we'll take a look at the line here, and this is very interesting. Alex Oliveira is minus 125, and Rakmanov is plus 105. So actually, Oliveira opened up at minus 195, and that line is definitely coming down. And I'll tell you guys right now, I did bet Shavkat Rakmanov. I bet him at plus 135. So the line is coming down. I would not be surprised if this was a pick'em or even Rakmanov was a favorite by fight time. And it's interesting because going into that fight, after taping that fight, I thought this fight should be lined closer to a pick'em, or I wouldn't even be shocked if Rakmanov should be a favorite. And just seeing that plus 135, I had to jump on there. This fight is very, very intriguing to me. Oliveira is someone who I'm not all that high on whatsoever. He's someone who's very low output, only lands 2.89 significant strikes per minute. and he also slows down as the fight goes on. He's pretty strong, but his takedown defense is not great. He's been taken down quite a bit. He has a 61% takedown defense, and he's just someone that I think this is a bad matchup for him. Rakmanov, someone who's won every single fight inside the distance, but he has shown that he can go to the later rounds. He has a bunch of finishes in the second and third round as well, and he just throws a lot more output than Alex Oliveira. And I know you can come in here and say he's untested UFC debut, but he's actually fought in a legit organization. He's fought legit competition. So I really like Rakmanov here, and for him to open up that wide of a line is pretty weird. Plus 160 is way too wide. Now plus 105, I like that a lot better, and I would not be surprised at all if that line got even closer or the line completely flipped. I would not be shocked at all. Alex Oliveira was someone who was like minus 130, something like that, against Peter Sabota. Went out there, looked really good against him, but honestly, I think Oliveira is coming in on some type of short notice. I think like a couple weeks short notice as well, which I don't like that for him also. Give me Shavkat Rakhmonov. I want to say he can win a decision, but he's never done that before. I'm going to pick him to win inside the distance here. Give me a third round knockout on Alex Oliveira. Oliveira has been submitted like 3 times. He's been knocked out once. So I'm going to pick him to win by a third round finish, probably a knockout there for Shavkat. Really looking forward to this guy making his UFC debut, well-awaited UFC debut as well. So getting into the next fight. And a very ugly fight. Don't really know why it's on UFC 254 here, but it's intriguing in a way. And that is Stefan Struve. He is 32 years old, 6'11", 84.5-inch reach, 29-12 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Tuivasa, he is 27 years old, 6'2", 75-inch reach, 10-3 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. And I do want to get into the numbers a little bit on this fight. I know it's not the most exciting fight in the world by any means, but Struve does land 3.13 significant strikes per minute, 47% striking accuracy. He absorbs 4, so he is absorbing more than he's landing there with a 46% striking defense. Tuivasa, he lands 4.09 significant strikes per minute with a 48% accuracy, 3.54 absorbed per minute with a 51% striking defense as well. And I do want to touch on the grappling stats because I do think this is going to be very important in this fight. And Struve lands only 0.58 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 50% accuracy. His wrestling, it's not great, but he is able to find ways to get the fight to the mat at some points. Struve does have a 55% takedown defense. Tuivasa has a 42% takedown defense, and a lot of that was because of his last fight. He's been taken down a lot in the UFC, and that's really concerning in this fight. But I don't know if Struve is going to have the wrestling to really get this fight to the mat. And I don't know, I'm just not sold on Stefan Struve, someone who's been looking absolutely awful as of late. And I know Tuivasa is like 0-3 in his last 3 fights, but I don't think Struve has the same wrestling as a Sergey Spivak or Blagoy Ivanov, who took him down twice. Watching tape on Tuivasa, he's someone who's pretty solid striker, really good leg kicks. He's good at putting people against the cage and just bombing on them, and I think that's what he's going to need to do that here. But I also noticed when Tuivasa gets out of that first round, he slows down a ton. He looks very, very tired. And you'd think, 0-3 in his last 3 fights, he'd go back, make some improvements, work on that cardio a little bit. So I kind of do want to see him at weigh-ins, see how he's looking. But I honestly think it's first round or bust for Tuivasa. And honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards that first round for Tuivasa. And I'm probably going to pick him here. Stefan Struve was someone who's been knocked out 7 times. 7 times, and he's been dropped a ton more than that as well. I don't trust his chin. He's someone who backs up against the cage, that plays right into Tuivasa's game plan, and I don't think he has the wrestling to take Tuivasa down. And although Tuivasa got taken down like 6 times in the Spivak fight, you saw him work his way up to his feet and on 5 out of 6 of those takedowns. So decent get-up game for Tuivasa, and I'm sure he's been working on that as well. And you got to remember, Tuivasa is still young for the heavyweight division. He's 27 years old. Stefan Struve is 32 years old. He's someone who's retired before, and he came back. And man, I can't pick Stefan Struve in this fight. As for the line here, Tuivasa minus 105. Stefan Struve is minus 115. Struve did open up minus 165, which is crazy. This should definitely be a pick and fight. It's going to be up to, who is able to implement their game plan. Is Struve going to be able to get this to the ground and find a submission, or is Tuivasa going to knock him out in that first round? I'm leaning to the Tuivasa side. Am I comfortable enough to put my money on it? Probably not. Maybe looking at the Tuivasa first round prop. Maybe look at the Tuivasa knockout prop. Other than that, probably a fight you want to stay away from. So give me a Tuivasa to win that by first round knockout. All right, hopefully this fight is going to be, on Saturday. I mean, this fight has been canceled like 3 or 4 different times. And it's something that we already saw before. We already saw it play out, but extremely controversial. And, Magomed Ankalaev, he is 28 years old, 6'3", 75-inch reach, 13-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Ion Cutelaba, he is 26 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach, 15-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. Ankalaev minus 300, Cutelaba plus 250. Ankalaev did open up minus 285. So some money is coming in on Ankalaev. And this is going to be the same breakdown it's been for the past 4 or 5 times I broke it down. And I do like Ankalaev in this spot. He is definitely the more technical fighter. I think Cutelaba is going to be very dangerous in that first round. And I'm kind of interested to see the strategy that Cutelaba is going to bring in the first round, because he had an interesting one the last time. So he came in there, he got hit, he played possum a little bit, acted wobbled, was throwing stuff back, and then the fight was stopped. Obviously a really bad stoppage, but what kind of game plan was that? Not a great one there. So he's obviously going to come in here with a different game plan. I'm curious to see if Cutelaba is going to come in here and try to conserve his energy in a way in that first round, kind of sit back in that first round. But we've seen lately, guys that are trying to do that, it's not really worked out for them. So Ankalaev is, he's someone who hits hard. He has really, decent wrestling, a decent ground game. And Cutelaba is someone, in my opinion, who is very dangerous, but he's probably first round or bust for him here. And Ankalaev so far has shown a pretty good chin. The only blemish on his record was a last-second submission loss to Paul Craig. And, I mean, looking back on it, that was awful, but Paul Craig's someone who has been very good as of late, but still kind of concerning. I mean, tapping with 1 second left is not a good look, but I don't see Cutelaba going out there and submitting Ankalaev or nothing like that. But yeah, Ankalaev's got to stay safe for that first round. After that, Cutelaba is going to slow down, as he does in a lot of his fights. The cardio is not really there. Would I be shocked if Cutelaba got a stoppage in that early first round? No, not really, but it's not something I want to put my money on. It's not something I want to pick. Give me Ankalaev to win with a third round knockout. I could honestly even see a decision as well, but I think he's going to stop him in that third round. And hopefully we get to see it. Hopefully we get to see that fight. Hopefully there's nothing controversial this time. And yeah, so really looking forward to it. Now we have an interesting fight, and interesting as to why this is on a pay-per-view here, and that is Lauren Murphy versus Aliyah Shakharova. And Murphy, she is 37 years old, 5'5", 68-inch reach, 13-4, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She made me some good money her last fight. I had a bet on her against Roxanne Modafferi. And Aliyah Shakharova, she is, we don't know her age, which is very sketchy there. Does not show on Tapology. Didn't really go and dig into it. I'm not all that concerned about her age, but she is 5'4". We don't know her reach as well. 8-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. I mean, watching tape on Shakharova, she actually looks decent. She looks like she has some decent striking, some decent power in a way, and decent takedowns as well. I saw her pick up these girls and slam them a couple times, so that was impressive. But we got to factor in the level of competition. I mean, someone like Lauren Murphy has been fighting way better competition, and it's not even close. Roxanne Modafferi, Angela Lee, girls like that. So this is going to be a really big step up in competition for Aliyah Shakharova. And we'll take a look at the line here. Murphy is minus 240 and Shakharova is plus 200. Murphy opened up minus 350. So money's actually been coming in on Shakharova. I can kind of see why, I guess. She looks solid on tape. It's just making her UFC debut. She has some questionable competition on her record. I think the last person she fought was 1-2 or something crazy like that. But I'm going to take Lauren Murphy. I do think she has some nice power, really good takedown defense. She showed her last fight. Her last, by the way, Shakharova's last fight was a knockout win against somebody who was 1-1. So that just shows you how questionable this competition is. Before that was a split decision win against someone who was 2-1. So yeah, very questionable competition. This is a big step up. Give me Lauren Murphy here. Am I confident enough to bet it? Not really. I mean, it's women's MMA, but I do think Murphy gets this done. Minus 240 is actually not a bad line here, but there are some question marks. Give me Lauren Murphy by decision. Wouldn't be crazy if I saw her get a finish as well, but Lauren Murphy should get this done. All right, next we have Phil Hawes versus Jacob Malkoun. And it's kind of tough to call this fight because I only was able to see like 3 fights of Jacob Malkoun, and he only has 4 fights on his record. He's 4-0. And Phil Hawes, he is 31 years old, 6 foot, 77.5-inch reach. He is 8-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jacob Malkoun, we don't know his age, do we? No, again, we don't know his age. Come on, Tapology, get it together. But 5'4", don't know his reach, 8-1 and 4-0, and obviously 4-0 in his last 5 fights, my bad. So Malkoun, watching tape on him, he actually looks pretty solid, so I can kind of see why he's getting this UFC call in a way. I mean, someone who trains with Robert Whittaker, I think that has something to do with it. But 4-0 coming into the UFC is kind of crazy. But yeah, he looks decent. He looks decently technical as well, solid on the mat. But Phil Hawes, someone who's very impressive as well. Very good takedowns, very good power. The problem is he does tend to slow down. Decent output as well from Hawes, and someone who's very dangerous. And there's just so many question marks with Malkoun. I mean, 4 fights. I was able to watch like 3 of them, and he looks solid, but that's not much experience at all. I think he has a boxing background as well. But Hawes, someone who is very dangerous. He's finished 75% of his fights by knockout, 25% of his fights by submission. He's finished all of his wins there. He has lost by knockout once. He's been submitted before. And I think Hawes gets it done here. We'll take a look at the line. And Hawes is minus 260, opened up minus 285. So a little bit of money coming in on Malkoun. Malkoun plus 225, opened up around plus 220. So yeah, I see some love out there on Malkoun. Not really sure how you could be overly confident in that, but give me Hawes here. Seen him face some pretty decent competition. I think better competition than Malkoun here. I think he's going to get him out of there in that first round, probably a first-round knockout there for Phil Hawes. Really looking forward to it. I mean, he's a really exciting guy, but really looking forward to see the weigh-ins as well. I kind of want to see how they match up. Probably a fight I do want to stay away from a betting perspective, minus 260, maybe a parlay piece, but other than that, not too interested in it. And make sure you guys tune into the live stream that will be on Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I was thinking about moving it up, but I'm just probably going to keep it at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, going to go over the weigh-ins, bets, DraftKings, final thoughts, all that good stuff. And yeah, wow, good matchup here. These next 3 fights are very good. These next 3 fights are pay-per-view worthy fights. Cannot say the same for the Lauren Murphy fight, but this one's a good one. Alexander Volkov versus Walt Harris. Volkov, he is 31 years old, 6'7", 81-inch reach, 31-8, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Walt Harris, he is 37, 6'5", 81-inch reach, 13-8, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I do want to get into the numbers in this fight. So Volkov lands 4.65 significant strikes per minute with a 58% striking accuracy. Very impressive numbers there. He only absorbs 2.53 significant strikes per minute with a 54% striking defense. As for Walt Harris, he lands only 2.97 significant strikes per minute. Very low output with only a 39% striking accuracy. And he does absorb more than he throws, absorbing 3.18 significant strikes per minute with a 56% striking defense. As for the grappling stats, I'm honestly not too concerned about this hitting the mat. I know Volkov got taken down 15 times against Curtis Blades, something crazy like that. Obviously, Walt Harris is not going to do that. Walt Harris only averages 0.32 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 33% takedown accuracy. And Volkov does have a 65% takedown defense, but a lot of that is because of the Curtis Blades fight. So not looking into that all that much. And if Walt Harris does come out here and try to get takedowns, it's only going to get him even more tired. And he already has a really suspect gas tank, so I don't expect Walt Harris to go out there and try to wrestle. In 39 fights, Volkov has been knocked out only twice. So a lot of people say he's kind of chinny. I don't really see it. I mean, only knocked out twice in 39 fights. I mean, he was knocked out by Derek Lewis. He has been submitted twice before in 39 fights as well. Walt Harris has been knocked out more times in less fights. He's been knocked out 3 times, and Walt Harris has actually been submitted once. And Walt Harris does have a 100% finish rate. He's finished all of his wins, all by knockout. And basically, if Harris is going to win here, it's going to be in that first round. It's going to be very early. And I don't think that's all that likely there. I mean, we'll take a look at the line here. Volkov is minus 170. Harris is plus 150. Volkov opened up minus 185. So a little bit of money is coming in on Harris. I honestly expect that line to get a little bit wider. I see a lot of people on Volkov, and I do agree. I think he uses his range, his length very well. I think he's the more technical striker. Harris obviously is more dangerous, but if Volkov can survive that early storm, I think he's going to get it done by decision, and probably even a finish in the third round would not surprise me there. I think he's the much better fighter. I think this is a tough fight for Walt Harris, and outside of a first couple minute knockout, I don't see him getting it done. I'm pretty confident that Alexander Volkov is going to get the win. I'm going to say third round knockout for Volkov here. And I'm fairly confident in that pick, but Harris is dangerous. So if you want to take on a shot on Harris, probably bet him inside the distance. Maybe look at that first round prop. But if he's able to survive those first couple of minutes, I think Volkov's gonna definitely get it done there just by throwing more output. Harris is very, very low output. So Volkov for the win for me. And next we have the co-main event, and this is probably the toughest fight to call in my opinion. I am struggling on this fight a lot of flip-flopping back and forth, but we'll break it down. I see a lot of people very confident in one side. I see a lot of people really confident in Jared Cannonier, always going to knock him out. I see a lot of people, very confident in Robert Whittaker, the better fighter, all that, but I'm not confident either way here. But Robert Whittaker, he is 29 years old, 6 foot, and it's crazy. I mean, he's going to be 7 years younger than Jared Cannonier. And Whittaker does have a 73.5-inch reach, 21-5, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jared Cannonier, he is 36 years old, 5'11", 77-inch reach, 13-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I do want to get into the numbers here. So Whittaker does land 4.51 significant strikes per minute. He has a 40% striking accuracy. He absorbs 3.43 significant strikes per minute with a 61% striking defense. Jared Cannonier, 3.72 landed with a 51% accuracy. He absorbs 2.82 significant strikes per minute with a 66% striking defense. And we can take a look at the grappling stats a little bit. I don't think they're really going to play a factor. Maybe Whittaker goes for some takedowns, and I actually think Whittaker could get some takedowns in this fight. Cannonier does have a 51% takedown defense, but we can't really look into those numbers all that much because he has been fighting at a couple different weight classes during his career. But Whittaker's a solid wrestler. Like I said, he averages 0.46 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 30% accuracy. I do expect him to maybe try for a takedown or two. Honestly, not going to probably do much with it. Cannonier has a very good get-up game as of late. And just looking at some of the finish stats, Cannonier is the more dangerous guy, finishing 85% of his wins. Robert Whittaker finishing 59% of his wins. And a lot of people are saying that Robert Whittaker's chinny. And I mean, I kind of agree. I think he's been knocked out like twice. It seems like Robert Whittaker is getting dropped in like each of his last 4 or 5 fights, something like that. He's getting dropped a couple times in the fight. I mean, he got dropped in the Darren Till fight. He got dropped twice in the Adesanya fight. So I don't know if that chin is all that there as of now. And it just seems like it's kind of a recipe for disaster against someone in Jared Cannonier. And that's why this fight is so hard to pick. Because I do think Robert Whittaker is the better fighter. I think he's better everywhere, from the ground game to the striking to the more output. But what Cannonier is probably better at is probably that durability. And I know Cannonier has been knocked out twice himself in 17 fights, less than Robert Whittaker, but very concerned about Whittaker's durability. But what he did show in that Till fight was he did get dropped. He was able to come back and win that fight against Till. But, man, tough fight. I'm going to pick the fighter I think is better in Robert Whittaker. Don't be surprised if Cannonier goes out there and knocks him out, but I don't know. I'm going to pick Robert Whittaker to get the win here. He is an underdog, plus 105, and Cannonier is minus 120 here. So Cannonier actually opened up at plus 100. So some money is coming in on Cannonier. Like I said, very concerned about the Whittaker chin. I don't know if I will bet Whittaker in this spot. I'm probably going to stay away. But I am going to pick the better fighter here. I think if he's able to stay out of trouble, he's going to land the more output, land more strikes, maybe get a takedown or two, win a decision. But if I was to bet on Whittaker, I would be holding my breath for 15 minutes because Cannonier does hit like a truck. But yeah, tough fight to call. I'm really struggling with it. But I am going to pick the fighter I do think is the better one in Robert Whittaker. All right, and now we have the main event. Wrong thing. The main event, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje, and I put a breakdown out sometime on Monday. I want to get this breakdown out and talk about it a little bit, so I'm not going to go all into much detail. But Khabib Nurmagomedov, he is 32 years old, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 28-0, and obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Justin Gaethje, he is 31 years old, 5'11", 70-inch reach, 22-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And yeah, this is a very intriguing fight, a fascinating fight if that, because Justin Gaethje is someone who, you know, he has that wrestling background, but we haven't really seen it tested in the UFC. He's been taken down like twice. I think Poirier took him down. I think Eddie Alvarez took him down once, or Michael Johnson took him down once. But other than that, he hasn't really been taken down in the UFC. Like I said, I think like twice. And he hasn't really fought, you know, guys that are going to test that takedown defense. Like Tony Ferguson, Donald Cerrone, Edson Barbosa, James Victor are not going to go out there and try to wrestle. Khabib is. And I think a lot of people are looking into the last fight a little bit too much. And we see that a lot. A lot of people look at the last fight and, you know, don't get me wrong, Gaethje looked fantastic against Tony Ferguson. That was the best Gaethje we've ever seen. And before that, he was knocking out Donald Cerrone, knocking out Edson Barbosa, knocking out James Vick, and I mean, that's not all that impressive, but he's been on quite a run. 4-0 in his last 4 fights. Before that, knocked out by Dustin Poirier, knocked out by Eddie Alvarez. But yeah, like I said, the Tony Ferguson fight, he looked very good from start to finish. He looked good going into those later rounds. He looked fresh. But this is a completely different matchup. This is not Tony Ferguson. This is Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's going to be a completely different fight. And, you know, watching tape on Khabib, it's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, he cuts off the cage very well. He pressures. His striking's actually solid. I mean, I don't recommend he goes out there and strikes with Gaethje by any means, but I think if he's able to, you know, survive the first round and a half when Gaethje's going to be most dangerous, I think he can definitely strike with Gaethje a little bit. And I do think there will be striking exchanges, but Khabib, I mean, for the most part, I don't think he's ever been hurt. I mean, I think he might have got hurt once, questionable, but other than that, he's shown some really, really, really good durability there. And just Khabib, he's going to be relentless with those takedowns. So I think he's going to come in there and try to get Gaethje down. I think Gaethje might stuff the first takedown. He might get taken down. He might work his way up. But Khabib's not going to stop. He's going to be relentless with that. And you can have all the wrestling background you want. And a lot of people are banking on that wrestling background. But, you know, what's the wrestling background if he hasn't ever used it in the UFC, you know? So I like Khabib here. I personally have never picked against Khabib. And I personally never will. So I'm going to pick Khabib to win here by, give me a 4th round submission for Khabib. And, I mean, I'm pretty confident in it. Gaethje is one of my favorite fighters, if not my favorite fighter in the UFC. And I'm not going to be biased and go out there and say Gaethje's going to knock him out because I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I see Khabib, you know, playing it safe, getting those takedowns, not exchanging with Gaethje for long periods of time. If he does, I think he'll be okay. But Gaethje does have some serious power. And I don't expect that. I don't expect Khabib to go out there and strike with Justin Gaethje for 25 minutes. I hope nobody expects that because that's not what's going to happen. And I also hope nobody expects that Gaethje's going to stuff every single takedown. I mean, yeah, wrestling background, but Khabib is a different animal. So give me Khabib to get it down to the mat multiple times, grind out Justin Gaethje. And I know Gaethje's cardio looked really good against Tony Ferguson, but this is a completely different fight. Khabib's going to drain you. He's going to drain that gas tank until he, you know, gets you out of there late in the fight. So a lot of people were picking Dustin Poirier to beat Khabib last time. A lot of people are picking Justin Gaethje to beat Khabib this time. And I'm sure we'll see it next time. A lot of people want to see the undefeated guy lose. I don't think this is the spot. Would I be shocked if Gaethje knocked out Khabib? Kinda. I mean, not really. I mean, Gaethje's looked fantastic. This is just a completely different matchup from a James Vick or from a Edson Barbosa or from a Donald Cerrone. This is Khabib Nurmagomedov here. So really intrigued by this matchup. I'm going to go Khabib to win it by, give me a 4th round submission there. And yeah, I'm excited for this card as a whole. So lots we have to talk about here. First off, if you guys enjoy my content, it really helps if you can just leave a like. It means a ton. Just one little like goes a long way. Subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And also, I'm going to be doing my live stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. Make sure you guys check that out. I'm going to be talking about the weigh-ins, going to be talking about my final thoughts, betting, DraftKings, all that. Look out for my DraftKings video as well. Going to be putting out a betting breakdown sometime on Friday. I want to get it out earlier, so the card is going to start very early. So my time, it's 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is extremely early, so I got to wake up. So I do want to get my content out earlier, and that's why I'm getting it out, this video out on a Tuesday here. I wanted to get it out a little bit earlier, but had a lot to watch and go over in just a couple days there. But yeah, make sure you guys comment down below how many significant strikes you think are going to combine in the Khabib and Justin Gaethje fight, and then also comment down your DraftKings username. We'll get you in that contest, 150 people. And other than that, if you have any bets on Saturday, good luck. I have 3 bets already. I'm looking to place a lot more. There's a lot of spots I like, and I'm ready to make money on Saturday. And good luck, guys. Talk to you soon.